Welcome back to Python tutorials with Simplilearn. I'm Anjali and today we'll look into dictionaries and sets in Python. So first let's have a look at what a dictionary is. By definition, a dictionary is an unordered collection of data stored as a pair of key and value. So dictionary basically is another data type, just like your lists and your tuples, but here they are not exactly a sequence because the order in which you store the elements are not very important in the case of a dictionary. Also, every element is a pair of values. So there's the key and there's the value. The key is basically like your index in a list or a tuple, but here in dictionaries, keys can be not just integers but also strings. So that is the main difference between dictionaries and other sequences such as lists and tuples. Now let's have a look at exactly how this works, but first we look at its syntax. So you have your variable name or the dictionary name equal to, and within curly braces you have your data stored. So each data here is a key value pair, as I mentioned earlier. So our first data would be key 1 and then you have the double colons. So the double colon basically separates the key and the value. So value 1 is assigned to key 1, value 2 is assigned to key 2 and so on. And every pair of value and key is separated by a comma. So now we'll move to Jupyter Notebook to have a look at how dictionaries work. Let's start with creating dictionaries. So first we'll make an empty dictionary. So how is this done? You have your variable name, which will be your dictionary name basically. So I'm taking my variable name as D1. And as we previously saw, dictionary elements are enclosed within curly braces. So you can just put down curly braces here. And since we are creating an empty dictionary, have no element inside. And that is pretty much it. That's how you create an empty dictionary. I'll just print this out, print D1. Also print out its type. So as you see here guys, this is an empty dictionary. The class is dict, the short for dictionary of course. Now let's create a dictionary with elements. So my dictionary name this time would be D2. Again curly braces, and now within these curly braces we'll enter our elements. So my first element key is say 1. And the value assigned to this key would be welcome. My second element's key is 2. Value assigned to this would be 2. Third key and third value. And finally the fourth key and its corresponding fourth value. Now let me print D2 out. So we created our second dictionary successfully. Now here these integers are the keys and these strings are the values. Now I mentioned previously too that in case of dictionaries the keys are like indices, but here these indices / keys do not need to be integers, they can also be strings. So next up let's create a dictionary with the keys being strings too. So my next dictionary's name is D3 and now within curly braces enter your elements again. So my first element key would be name, the double colon, and then enter the name. Although name is a key, since it's still a string, we need to enter them in double quotes. Do not forget that. The next key would be age, which is 22. And finally, the profession. And Sam here is a student. So that's our dictionary D3. I'll print this out too. So we created an empty dictionary. We created a dictionary with its indices as just integers. Now there's another method of creating dictionaries, which is using the dict method. So let's check this out. My dictionary name is D4 and I'll be using the dictionary method. Now I'll pass the dictionary elements within the dictionary method, again using curly braces. Now this kind of creation of a dictionary is not needed. The above methods are so much more simpler and that's what we usually go with. But just for the sake of your knowledge, we'll check this out too. So again, I'll just put down these elements here, copy paste them inside these curly braces and then print out D4. So as you see, it's just the same thing. We get the exact same result using this dictionary method too. Now when you're using the dictionary method, make sure that you have not named any variable as dict previously. In that case, if you did name any variable, when you put down this method, it'll give you an error saying method is not callable. So if you did by mistake create a variable or a method saying dict, make sure you delete it before you run this line. Now another syntax for using the method and creating a dictionary. Let's look at that. So now my dictionary is D5 using that method again. So this time we'll pass every key and its corresponding value as a pair within round brackets. So we are basically passing these pairs as elements of a list, or by syntax you can say as tuples within a list. So you have 1 is welcome, Remember to put the quotes always for strings. 2. So as you noticed, in this case, we are not using the double colons. What we are doing is, to the method, we are passing a list of pairs of the elements, and each of these pairs are enclosed within these round brackets here. Now print out D5. So there's an error here. The error is, of course, that we have double colons in space of comma. So I'll correct that and run the code again. And there you go. So D5 is also created. It's exactly the same as D2 or D4. It's just a different method of creating it. Now the final type of dictionary that we'll be creating are nested dictionaries. So you can have a dictionary within a dictionary, just like you can have a list within a list or a tuple within a tuple. So let's see how this is done and why this would be done too. So if you look at D3 here, we had this key name which had one value Sam. But now what if our key name has two values? That's the first name and the second name. Now in this case, name can be the key to another dictionary, and within this dictionary we can store the first and the second name again with their corresponding keys. So we look at that. I have my dictionary D6 here, and we'll use a simple method of creating a dictionary. I'll just copy paste this line where I'm storing Sam's details and edit this out. So name is the key to a dictionary, and within this dictionary I'll have two keys. First, which is basically your first name, that is Sam, and last, that's Sam's last name, which is Crew, and that's how you create a nested dictionary. Print D6 out. So it's done. As you can see here, name is the key for our dictionary, which is inside our main dictionary, and inside this nested dictionary too, we have two keys, first and last, each of them with values. So now that we learned how to create dictionaries, let's see how you can add more elements to them. So I'll create an empty dictionary first, say D, and now I want to add my first element to this dictionary. So I can say D of 0, just like how you do in case of lists, equal to, and the value. Then I'll print out D. So that's how it's done. 0 becomes your key and welcome is the value. Now I can also add a tuple to this dictionary. So if I want my second element or the value of key 1 to be a tuple, I go like D of 1 equal to, and then just how you would define a tuple, go ahead and create that. And then I'll print out D. So now we have two elements in our dictionary D. The first is the string welcome, followed by a tuple with 3 elements. So I just missed out a comma here and forgot to close my strings. So yeah, our dictionary has 2 elements. The first one is a string welcome, and the second element is a tuple with 3 elements within it, which are how R and the string U. So far we used numbers as indices for adding elements, which made the number the key. Now as we saw previously, dictionaries can also have keys which are strings. So how do you assign these? Well, the same way, but now instead of number, put down a string. And I say D of name equal to Sam, right? And then print out D. So our first 2 elements have the key 0 and 1 integers. Our last element is having the key as name, which is a string, and a value, which is again a string. Now similarly, you can also add dictionary as an element to this already existing dictionary. Now in this particular case, I don't want to add another element. In fact, I want to update the value of our key name. I want the value to be another dictionary, just like we had previously. So I'll again say name, where the index is supposed to be, and then equal to curly braces where I'll create my dictionary. So that'll be the key first, which will have the value Sam, and the key last, which will have the value Crew. Print D out, and there you go. So your value for the key name has been updated now. So we saw how we can add elements or update elements. Now let's have a look at how you can access the elements which are already present in your dictionary. So the syntax we use again here is very similar to that for lists or tuples. Before we move ahead though, I'll just print out D so that we can refresh as to whatever was stored in D. So we have 3 elements here. Key 0 has the value welcome, key 1 with the tuple how are you, and then finally key 3, which is name, which has a dictionary as its value, and the dictionary holds the first and the last name. So now if I want to retrieve the value of the key name, I can just say D of name, and that will give you the value of the key name. Now if I want the value of just the key first, which is within the key name, I can go ahead with the sort of syntax you'd use for lists and tuples again when they are nested. So D of name, which returns this dictionary here as we saw previously. And now from this dictionary, if I want to extract the value of the key first, then I would just say first within these square brackets. And that is how you retrieve the value within a nested dictionary. Now this is a very simple method. Yet again, we have a method which is specific for retrieving values with dictionaries, which is the get method. So if I say d dot get of, and within the brackets, I pass the key, say 1, run this line here, and that too retrieves the value of the particular key. So we created dictionaries, we inserted elements into it, updated those elements, and even saw how to access these elements. Now let's look at how you can delete the elements. So once again, before we begin, I'll just print out our dictionary on which we'll be operating. So that's D, and these are the elements within D. Now the first method that you can use for deleting elements is the pop method. So I'll say d dot pop of, and within the bracket you insert the key whose values you want to delete. So suppose I want to delete welcome, which is at key 0. So I just enter 0 in here, run the code, and the pop method basically deletes the value for the key that's given and it returns this value. So it's returned welcome. Also, if we check D now, welcome won't exist within it anymore. Now the other method which is popularly used for deleting elements is pop item. Now with pop, we specified the element we want to delete. With pop item, we do not specify this element because it's always the last element of the dictionary. So you just say d.pop item, run the code. Again, pop item, just like pop, returns the element while deleting it also. So I'll print out D now. And as you see here, D just has one element left after the 2 deletions, which is the value of key 1. And that's basically how you delete elements from a dictionary. Now we'll also check out some inbuilt methods or inbuilt functions with dictionaries. Before we move on to that though, we'll put our dictionary back into its previous state. So we'll just run the line where we created our dictionary once more. This line here. Let's check out D now. So our dictionary is back to its original state. And now we can perform the next few operations on them. So there are a number of inbuilt functions used with dictionaries, but here we'll just focus on some of the very important and commonly used ones. So the first one we're going to look at is values. So you say d.values of. Now what this function does, it returns all the values of the dictionary. So it returns just the values, not the keys. Run this. So as you can see here, all the values are returned as a dict values type object. Now there's a slightly different method of creating a dictionary, which is using the from keys function. So what this function does is basically it takes 2 sequences, one for the keys and one for the value, and then it creates a dictionary using these keys and values. So first I'll create a sequence for my keys. My keys would be A, B, C, D. And then I'll just have one single value here, 1. And I want each of these keys to have the value as 1. So this is where the from keys method comes very handy. Say dict dot from keys. And then you pass on the sequence of keys and the value. Let's run the command. So a dictionary is created here with our keys A, B, C, D. And as I mentioned previously, you can probably notice here the best that dictionaries are unordered. So just because I gave the sequence as A, B, C, D does not mean that this sequence or this order will hold in the dictionary that's created. And now finally, we'll use the clear method to completely remove this dictionary. Now if I try to print D here, it's an empty dictionary. So with that, we come to an end of what dictionaries is. And next we look at sets. So what are sets in Python? By definition, a set is an unordered collection of unique elements. So the terms we must concentrate on here are unordered, just like dictionaries. In sets also, there's no particular order to the elements stored in it. Also unique elements, as in, suppose you have the letter A and you enter this twice while creating the set. Ultimately, when the set is stored or when you print out the set, you'll notice that A only occurs once. So every element of the set is unique. Now set basically brings out the mathematical notion of a set. That means you can easily find out the union of 2 sets or the intersection of 2 sets or any such operation that you'd normally do on mathematical sets. Also, sets are iterable and mutable. and they provide a very optimized way of checking if an element is within it or not. Now let's have a look at the syntax of a set. You have the variable name or the set name equal to, and then you use the set method to create the set. You pass to this a list of the elements that you want inside the set. So unlike dictionaries, in sets you don't have key value pairs, it's just the values. Now we'll move back to our Jupyter notebook to demonstrate sets. So first things first, let's create a set. My set name would be S, and then I'll use the set method, and within this I'll pass 4 elements 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how I create my set. Very simple, isn't it? I'll just print out my set and also print out its type, so we can confirm that what's stored in S is actually a set. Run the code. So as you see here, we have our set 1, 2, 3, 4 belongs to the class set. Now sets need not have just integers or just strings. It can be mixed, of course. And we look at this while also looking at how you can add elements to a set. So for adding elements, you use the add method. So s.addOf. And then within the brackets, you pass whatever the element is that you want to add. In this particular case, I'm adding A. So I'll run that and then print out S. So yes, A is added to the end of the set, but again, since this is a set, the order does not matter. So now sets are mutable. So I was able to add a new element to this set. Now we have another thing called frozen set. Now frozen sets are just like sets except they are immutable. So here I'll create a frozen set for which we use the function again called frozen set. Pass on the elements here and then I'll print out fs. So the syntax for creating a frozen set is just like that for creating a set. And yeah, we have the elements here. Now I want to add an element to fs. If I say fs add of and pass A here, you'll notice you get an error, and the error says that attribute add is not associated with frozen set. This is simply because add modifies the set and frozen sets do not allow this kind of a modification. Now, as I mentioned before, sets in Python represent the notion of sets in maths. So that means that we can also have operations such as union and intersection on sets. And these are the most common operations that you do perform with sets. So let's have a look at these. So I'll create two sets initially, S1, which will have the elements 1, 3, 7, 2, and then S2 having the elements 3, 2, 8, 9. So these are our two sets. Now first we'll apply the union operation. So you say S1 dot union of, and within the brackets pass S2. Run this. So what union does is it brings all the elements of S1 and S2 together into another set. And of course any kind of repetition is removed because sets have unique elements. So as you can see here, you have 3 in S1 and S2 both, but 3 appears just once in our union set. Now we can also have intersection of S1 and S2. Now we can also subtract a set from another. So S1 dot difference of S2 basically removes all the elements from S1 which are also found in S2. Run this line here and the result is 1 and 7. So we'll go back to our list here and confirm this. Now S1 has 1, 3, 7, 2, but S2 has elements 3 and 2. So when you remove S2 from S1, all you're left with is 1 and 7. Now there are certain operators that you can use with set, and this is really interesting to view because these kind of operators generally only worked with numbers or Boolean expressions as such. So let's check these out. Now we can easily check if two sets are equal. S1 equal to S2, just like you check with numbers. Run this. Of course, S1 and S2 are not equal. Now similarly, you can also check if a set is greater than the other, S1 greater than S2. So what this does is it checks every element basically. So here, it'll check if 1 is greater than 3. No, it's not. So at the very first iteration itself, S1 is not greater than S2. That's definitely a false. Now remember how I initially said that it's very optimized to check with sets if an element exists within it or not. So this is where the in operator comes into picture. Now if I want to check if 1 is an element in S1, all I have to do is go like 1 in S1. So if 1 is an element in S1, which is true in our case, it'll return true. And if I say like 61 in S1, that'll return false because 61 is not in S1. There's also a negative to this which is not in. So if I say 1 not in S1, that'll return false because 1 is definitely in S1. And similarly, we also have the exclusive operator, S1 exclusive or S2. So what this operator does is basically it returns all the elements which are exclusively either in S1 or S2. So if we go back to our sets here, we'll see 1 is in S1 and not in S2. 3 is in both of them. 7 is again exclusive to S1. And similarly, 8 and 9 are exclusive to S2. So I'll run this line here, and that's exactly what we got, 1, 7, 8, 9. So there are a number of operations which are performed with sets. The thing is, sets in general are not very widely used. So here we have just covered some of the common features which are used with sets, if at all sets are used. And with that, we come to an end of our Python tutorial on dictionaries and sets. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section below and we'll definitely get back to you. Also, hit the like button if you like this video and please subscribe to our channel if you have not yet, because we have a lot more great videos coming up. So stay tuned and I'll see you all next time.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.